Did you like maps as a kid? How about the globe? How about congressional maps? Well, they're all the rage right now as the Republicans try to steal an electoral advantage and steal the midterm election and the congressional seats even before we've run the election. Taking the 2020 census, mapping it on, they're getting around to doing it now in 2025, only because Donald Trump won, only because Donald Trump's ordered them to try to steal seats and remapping their states for congressional maps. Utah is fighting back. California is fighting back, and we got developments in Texas as well. A new lawsuit there that's been filed against the Texas maps. A new lawsuit that failed, filed against the California maps. And a new ruling by a Republican judge against the Trump administration in Utah that's got Donald Trump all hot and bothered. We cover it all on Legal AF, the podcast, and here's a clip. Karen, let's talk about maps. I used to love maps as a kid. Donald Trump's decided that's the way to fame and fortune at the midterms. Steal seats from other Americans. Let's redraw the maps. I'm like, the census was in 2020. This is 2024. We're now redrawing maps to cut out black and brown people and Democrats, and it's getting ridiculous. And now, where we don't have the political muscle like Texas, despite a valiant effort by 50 Democrats who left to break the quorum, those maps are getting approved, have been approved. But now there's lawsuits, right? Because once you get the maps approved, boom, then it's time for the lawsuit. So we've got the NAACP has filed their lawsuit against the Texas maps, which subtracts five seats from the Democrats. Just crazy numbers. Remember, we're trying to add up to a house here for Congress. And just automatically give 5 seats to the Republicans, new seats, terrible. But then Gavin Newsom, showing bravery, political courage, leadership, tryouts for 2028. He got his legislature together and they decided, well, why don't we add 5 seats for the Democrats and neutralize Texas? And that's going up on a referendum. We'll talk about a lawsuit that was filed on that. Utah, we got a judge, a state court judge, who's ordered new maps by November, before November. So you got all these things going on. So, Kara, what did you pick up so far from all of this sturm and drang over map making and gerrymandering and seats for congressional representatives?
I mean, this is really complicated because gerrymandering is where you redraw maps to try and, in theory, the good part about gerrymandering is you do it so that you can be more inclusive and give people, for example, minorities, a vote and a seat at the table, and who might not otherwise because they're in the minority. And so gerrymandering, it's not a great word, but it can be a thing that has good outcomes if it's done for good purposes. And it's been held to be constitutional and legal in various cases. But there's something called the Voting Rights Act that specifically says you cannot do it. You're not allowed to do it if you are doing it to discriminate racially. And that is just not okay. And that to intentionally diminish the power of certain racial or other minorities, you're not allowed to do that. And so there's going to be litigation about that and to see if that's what they're doing. I mean, it's clear that is what's happening in Texas. You know, I have mixed feelings about what's going on because I still kind of subscribe to the Michelle Obama, if they go low, we go high. I don't love this whole, okay, they did it, so we're going to do it. We're going to fight back. I just feel like we're being dragged down into the mud. I get the argument, don't take a knife to a gunfight. But I say, you know, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like that we are devaluing ourselves by essentially doing, you know, I don't like the way certain politicians and Democrats are talking. They're talking like Trump. It's like, you know, they're doing Trump energy back at him. And I don't love it. So I do think it's probably necessary, but in some ways it just also, I just have very mixed feelings because yes, of course we can't lose. We have to win, and we have to win not at all costs, but at whatever cost we can. But it does take away a certain argument that we can say, look, you're not doing the right thing if we do it too. So I have mixed. I'm just being honest. I have mixed.
I'm
feelings
less
about
mixed
it.
than you are, as you know from my intersection last night. We're at war. I agree with Gavin Newsom. We've turned as many cheeks as I've run out of cheeks to turn. We have to play the cards that we've been dealt. And it's great to be, what's Gavin's phrase for it? It's great to be a liberal of feats, but we've got to, it's not even fight fire with fire. We got to fight fire with fire for sure, because we don't have time to put it out with water. Like, there's no time. The time is a wasting, and we're going to have to use every thing that we can do, every tool in our tool bag to defend this democracy and representative form of government. And you know, I don't want to look back, frankly, 2 years from now and say, oh, we lost, and we lost the House again, setting us up badly for the 2028. But it was a good college try. Don't you think we saved our morals and our ethics, and we could be proud of ourselves? Like, I don't want to have that speech.
No, and I don't disagree. Look, I agree with what you're saying. I do. I mean, we are at war, and what's at stake is our democracy. Yeah. That being said, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but that being said, we should be able to win over the hearts and minds of people. We shouldn't have to play dirty to win. And that's what's frustrating to me is why are the Democrats having such a hard time winning the hearts and minds? Why are we losing that to begin with? And instead now we have to fight back and fight back dirty and whatever. We'll do it because we have to do it, because we have to win, because our democracy is at stake. But that's what frustrates me.
Well, that's a good debate. Let's have that debate. The Democratic brand, based on polling, is in the toilet. It's also hard to enhance your brand if you're the party out of power, because you're not able to pass laws to help the American people. You're not able to hold hearings to show the depravity of the Trump administration. You get to do press conferences. You get to do really nasty letters. You get to do shadow hearings. I've had the senators on. I've had the Congress people on. We do what we do, which is important. I ran into somebody yesterday while I was having lunch, and they were kind of staring at me, and I was staring back at them, and they were like, "Are you that guy on YouTube?" I go, "Yeah." And then he burst into tears. He was just so happy and said, "You say out loud the things that I think, and you give me hope." He's a Jamaican Canadian, of all things. It's living in the United States and as a U.S. citizen, and so he has a whole different perspective than you and I do about what's going on. And although he's troubled terribly by it. But the brand is in trouble. Is the brand in trouble because we are seen as out of touch? We're not in touch with our younger base of it, or we've turned them off? Is it out of touch? Is it diminished because we're not seen as fighters? We're seen as those that roll over. I don't think we have a choice now about the fighting part. If we don't fight back in this, I mean, I'd love to do diplomacy. I'd love to go for a walk in the woods with a cup of coffee and a fellow MAGA and convince them of the errors of their ways. But we just don't have time for that. We're out of time. Donald Trump's not out of time. He's got his own out of time.
No, you're right. And I don't think any walk in the woods is going to convince people. Are so dug in. And I do agree ultimately. And I fall on the same, that side, but I can't help but reflect that it's a drag to me that this is where we are in our country, where we are so at war with each other, with ourselves. And that's what's sad is it shouldn't be that way.
I agree. But the courts are also involved. So in the NAACP will follow that case, basically saying the way the maps have been redrawn.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were talking about a case.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Is a violation. We're back to the Voting Rights Act. We're back to the constitutional protections of equal protection. And the way they've been drawn is not along political grounds, which is what the Supreme Court has said is okay, but it's really been done to disenfranchise, take away the vote and representation for Black and brown people. And who better to advocate for that than the NAACP? So they brought that case. We'll see where that goes. That has not been thrown out of court. That is not going to be thrown out of court anytime soon, which is more than I can say for a case brought by Harmeet Dillon's law firm. The fact that she still has a law firm with her name on it is mind-boggling to me. While she's the head of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice.
Which is ironic.
I know Harmeet. I did a case, you can look it up. I did a case where we were co-counsel, where we were on the same side of an issue. And she ran for Republican National Committee chairman, lost, and is very political animal, always wanted to be attorney general, didn't get the attorney general job, but got this job. And then it's effectively mothballed. We don't have a civil rights division anymore at the Department of Justice. She's completely, first of all, it's been halved. People have resigned en masse, and or she's fired them. So she doesn't have anybody. She doesn't have the funding, and she's not going to protect voting rights or civil rights or black and brown people's rights. She's using it to go after people that went after Donald Trump in the violation of his civil rights in the prosecutions and the fraud cases. I mean, that's what she's doing. So she had a law firm. It was like, 10, 15 person law firm based in California. They used to sue over every COVID policy that Joe Biden brought, from churches to stores to everything. They were constantly suing the Biden administration. And now her law office has filed a suit against Gavin Newsom, successfully getting the legislature to approve a referendum to go up. This is how they have to do it in California, to go up on the November ballot to approve their new map, giving the Democrats, let's call it what it is, the Democrats 5 seats, which her own department has said is fine. And the Supreme Court has said is fine under the Voting Rights Act. Political is fine as long as it's not racial. But why don't you tell the audience what happened with that one, and then I'll round it out with Utah.
Yeah, basically, I think it only took 48 hours, right, Popok? The case just got dismissed right away. I mean, it's crazy how quickly that happened. It happened so quickly, I almost didn't realize there was a lawsuit. Right.
And neither did Gavin Newsom. He had a great, whoever's doing his social media is just chef's kiss. I mean, besides them imitating and parroting, only slightly parroting Donald Trump, he came right out with, well, it didn't last long, 48 hours, right? Because so long, Dylan Law Group.
Yeah.
But the fact
that was a smackdown loss
with her name on it is just ridiculous. So that's going to go. Pardon me. There's nothing wrong with the legislature. They did it by the book in California. There's nothing wrong with putting that up on a referendum for the people to vote on. That some people who are from out of the country or don't follow politics as closely as we do might be thinking, well, that's not what they did in Texas. And that's true, because the Texas Constitution has a different process and allows the legislature to make the map. And we'll talk about a third process that Utah uses. So you got Texas legislatures, they do it. California goes up after approval by the legislature, goes up for referendum by the voters. November, that's going to happen. And then in Utah, there was a referendum and the voters voted. It may have been narrow, but they voted in favor of having an independent commission draw their maps because they were tired of gerrymandering and having maps drawn politically or racially. So the voters had it. And what did the legislature do in Utah? They rejected the referendum. How do you overturn a referendum in the state house?
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was wondering how that works with because it's so unusual, right? We don't have these propositions, Prop 4, Prop whatever. We don't have those in New York the way they do in California and in Utah. Yeah.
So the Western states, they do things interestingly. They just said, well, during COVID, they were like, we're just going to ignore it. Okay. And so they overturned the voter referendum, which they're not allowed to do, even with a supermajority in Utah. And what had happened is they redrew the map. They turned the compulsory commission that the voters wanted to use to draw the maps into an advisory panel, meaning they were going to reject whatever they said. And the way they drew the maps and the way Utah drew the maps was not the same. So around the major county there, for Salt Lake County, it's mainly Democratic. It's a big blue thing in the middle of a red state. But they divided the county into 4 seats along Republican lines. So it diluted out all the Democrats, even though if you just gave Salt Lake County a seat, it would be a seat. So the Democrats are fighting for 1+ Democrat seat. There's no Democrat seat because they took that one thing in the middle and divided it up, gerrymandered it out of existence with the Republican seats in different places in Utah. Utah's weird anyway because registered Democrats are only 12%, but 36% voted for Kamala Harris. There's a big independent group there, and there's a big group that registers Republican so that they can vote almost like independents in the Republican primary, but when it comes time for general election, they flip over and vote Democrat.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. So that's the fight in Utah. And MAGA's all ganging up on Judge Gibson because the case was sent back to her by the Utah Supreme Court that said the referendum should not, that whole thing should not have been overturned. And she has ordered new maps be drawn, consistent, I think, with what the commission had originally proposed or mandated, and that they get delivered by October and be used in November. And of course, MAGA is like, no. And all we want to do here is add one Democratic seat in the entire state of Utah. But you see, for our audience too, what is it? Pennies and dimes add up to quarters and dollars, whatever it is. A seat here. You lose 5, you gain 5, you gain 1, and then you tally it at the end, and you're hoping that we're able to reclaim the House at the midterm. See, that's what Donald Trump is so afraid of. Most of his administration can be explained by fear. He operates from fear, his own fears, and instilling fear in other people. And so he's afraid, and rightly so, based on the polling. When you're down in the 30s and you're only 8 months, 9 months into your administration, things are not going to get better for you either with the economy. When you're in the 30s, heading for the 20s in approval rating, you got to start stealing seats. But fortunately, we got people like Gavin Newsom and federal judges and state judges and NAACPs who are all fighting back, on your point about got to fight fair, I'm all about fighting fair and within the rules. But look, New York screwed itself because New York's like, well, we'll have an independent commission. And one guy literally drew the map after the census in New York and eliminated Democratic seats and created Republican seats that never had existed. And that's one of the reasons we didn't win at the midterm at the election, is because we lost a handful of seats that should never have been that competitive because we're nice. And we were like, yeah, let him do it. Why? Welcome back. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. It's a podcast we founded 5 years ago. I founded it with Ben Mycelis. We do it on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. You can pick up commercial-free versions over on Legal AF Substack. In addition, there's audio. We're on every audio platform for podcasts, from Spotify and Apple. We're usually ranked in the top 50 in Apple, top 15 or 16 on YouTube channel. And that's all a testament to your work. I mean, our hard work, but certainly we need the audience. We need the fervent support of this community, and we certainly have it. I appreciate you being here. So tune in, help us with the podcast. And you're already here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the free subscribe button there as well. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.